The lights were blinding, the cameras were rolling, and millions of people were watching. That was the moment Joel Osteen leaned forward in his chair, his smile as wide as ever, but his voice carrying something heavier than charm. "Jonathan," he said softly, "people love you as Jesus in The Chosen. But let's be honest, sometimes the world confuses the actor with the savior. Do you ever worry that people see you instead of him?" The audience went still. Even the sound of a single cough in the back row seemed like thunder in the silence. Jonathan Roumie didn't move at first. His eyes lifted, his hands folded, and what he said next would send shockwaves not only through that studio, but through the lives of millions who would replay this moment over and over again. Narration: it was supposed to be a light-hearted interview, a moment of levity on national television, a chance for a preacher and an actor to share a stage and speak about hope, faith, and encouragement. But in seconds, it had turned into something else, something raw, something eternal. Joel Osteen's smile never wavered, but the air was heavy, as if every soul in the building felt the weight of his question. And Jonathan Roumie, he didn't rush, he didn't laugh it off. He closed his eyes. He let the silence breathe. Then, with a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "Jonathan, if all they see is me, Joel, then I've failed. But if one child, one mother, one broken soul catches a glimpse of him through my face, then I'll give my life to keep going." The words fell like a stone into still water. Ripples spread, and no one knew what would happen next. The tension wasn't about personalities. It wasn't even about fame. It was about something deeper. Two men, both in positions of influence, both speaking of faith, but standing at two very different crossroads. Joel leaned back, his hand tightening on the armrest. "Joel, Jonathan, don't you think sometimes Christians make it too heavy, too serious? Isn't the message of Jesus meant to be simple, light, and uplifting?" A nervous laugh fluttered from the crowd, but Jonathan's face didn't soften. "Jonathan, Joel, Jesus was uplifting, but he was also a man of truth. And truth is not always easy. It's not always comfortable. It calls us to the cross." Narration: you could feel the clash between comfort and conviction, between smiles and scars, between an actor who carried Christ's face for millions and a preacher who carried Christ's name for thousands. And in that clash, the world leaned in, for this wasn't about television anymore. This was about eternity. The conversation reached its breaking point. Joel tried to lighten the mood. He laughed. He waved his hands. "Joel, well, Jonathan, I think we can both agree Jesus wants us happy." Jonathan's eyes sharpened. His tone shifted. "Jonathan, happiness fades, but holiness remains." "Joel, Jesus didn't say, 'Pick up your comfort.' He said, 'Pick up your cross.'" Gasps rippled through the audience, and in that moment something happened no one expected. Joel Osteen fell silent. The cameras caught it all, his smile faltering, his hands pausing mid-gesture. For the first time in years of broadcast ministry, Joel Osteen had no words. Jonathan's voice grew stronger. "Jonathan, people don't need me. They don't need another sermon that tells them everything will be easy. They need Jesus, the real Jesus, the one who bled, the one who wept, the one who rose again. If I don't point to him, then I'm nothing more than an empty echo." The room stood still. Even the air felt sacred, as if heaven itself leaned closer. And the audience, some cried, some prayed, and millions at home felt a chill race down their spines, because they knew this wasn't just a debate. This was a revelation. But the truth, it wasn't about silencing anyone. It was about opening eyes. Jonathan stayed behind long after the lights dimmed. People approached him, crew members, audience guests, strangers with trembling hands. "Thank you," one woman whispered. Tears streaked her cheeks. "For saying what we've all been afraid to say." Jonathan didn't smile. He simply bowed his head. "Jonathan, it wasn't me. It was him." Narration: and that was the heart of it all. The world had expected entertainment. What they got was encounter. An encounter with truth. An encounter with a name that carries power. A name above every other name. And that night, millions, who had tuned in for a talk show, walked away with something far greater. The reminder that Jesus is real. That his words still cut through the noise. And that sometimes, in the unlikeliest of places, his voice can thunder through the quiet. Because when Jonathan Roumie spoke, it wasn't just an actor. It was a servant pointing to his king.